Molweni, ndingudumo Jebesemfenqe and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us as we continue with recording our series on parent-child relationship. I do owe you an apology. I know I haven't recorded in a while, and it gets quite hectic, it gets quite busy, especially with work, but I really want to get to the form of actually having intervals, or time periods where we know that we are releasing our recording. So I will try and look into it. A friend recommended that we could say we release on a monthly basis, or bi-weekly. So I'm looking into that, and I will try and get that going, and I will present it on the platform to say this is when we will be releasing, and then you can just also click the alert button so that when we do release, YouTube can also alert you to say, look, there's my new material that you can watch. I've also been going through a bit of roller coaster. Life can be quite hectic, guys. So at times you find yourself down, at times you find yourself up. But through all of that, I'm still good. I'm still good, and I trust you're good too. We're still continuing with our parent-child relationship uh, package, as I have said. And today I want us to tap into another sensitive topic. I want us to talk about another sensitive topic. I want us to talk about conflicts between parents and families. Okay. I want us to talk about this because they tend to affect children a great deal. Because remember, a child is not just raised by one person. A child is not made by one person. All the social institutions that are out there, they contribute to what your child is going to become, to who your child is going to become. You can't raise your child as an island. You will give it your best shot, but it won't only depend on what you have taught them. There is a lot of influence that the environment has on a child. So when I'm talking parent-child relations and parent relationships, especially conflicts between parents and conflicts within families, we need to understand the damage that they can create on children. And we now sometimes find children so conflicted that they are trying to manage the adults. And this is a time when they should be in the formation of their being. This is a time when they should be children. But you will find them busy trying to manage family dynamics. So let's dive into it. We have got situations where people have, got into parenthood, planned or unplanned. We have got people who became parents as teenagers. We've got people who became parents through unintended encounters, but they've opted to keep and raise their children. We've got children who only know one parent. I think if we watch Kumbulekaya, we see the damage, that can be created in somebody just from issues of identity that come with the burden of not knowing your own identity based on who the parents are. And oftentimes, once there's conflicts between parents, the one will pull away from the other. And when they pull away from the other, whoever is then raising the child will try and give it their best shot, but in the process, I don't want to say they forget the needs of the child to relate with the other party. At times, they will distance a child from the other party because of the dangers and the risks involved in associating with the other parent. We have got children who have been raised by their parents' families. And along life, you then come back and you take your child because you now have got better means you can raise the child. However, you find that there are fundamental differences in how you now want to raise this child versus how your parents or your older siblings or whoever was taking care of the child had, kind of raised the child. Um, at times, you will find that the people who have been guardians and custodians of the children, they don't want to let go of them. And there will be huge frictions between families of not wanting to let go, or rather giving up and saying, you know what, take your child, do what you want. My question is, what do all these things do to the child? Have we have we taken a moment to think of the damage that we might be creating to the child? So when we are looking at this, I don't want us to box ourselves in one corner of saying this is how conflicts between parents arise. I will just select a few issues that tend to come up. Okay. We need to acknowledge that there are different ways in which people get into parenting. We have got a typical man, woman, male, female relations, out of which a child would then be born and raised. At times, these happen in relations where people are actually involved romantically. At times, it happens with people not necessarily involved romantically, but the outcome is the same. A child is born. At times, people who are in those romantic relations, they then split. We have got children that come through now, um, that have been born through surrogacy, uh, where certain women have struggled to conceive. They've had to resort to surrogacy. It's not a typical case of mommy falls pregnant, carries child to term, and delivers. There are dynamics even before the child is born of who carried the child, what are the legalities, what is the relationship between the father, the mother, the surrogate, and so forth. We have got children that, have been conceived through sperm donors. The parents could have, you know, um, had challenges with fertility from the male counterpart. Um, we have got children born of same sex marriages where sperm donation might be an option, where both women want to conceive and raise children, where both men want to conceive and raise children, and they opt for surrogacy, they opt for other methods of raising or bringing children to this world. Um, Remember, at that point, the child has not made any decision to be born. It has either been a decision or lack thereof of the one who is going to bring this child. So all these different ways in which abantwana bethu are coming or are being channeled into this world, they are decisions that we make as parents. Now, once the child is here, they rely entirely on us to then raise them. And whilst people might have conceived, might have delivered in a different headspace, in a different phase, all we wanna hope for, all we want to try and do is ensure that at every point in a child's life, let us impart the best that we can. Let us be considerate for the child. Let us have the best interests of the child at heart. And this is something that we miss when there are conflicts between the parents. Hence, you will find that now there will be fights about the child. There are people that fight from the day they decide that things are not going well between them. And the first tool that they use to advance the fight becomes the child. Those scars that you are creating in that child's life, they are going to stay with that child for the rest of their lives. So when conflicts arise between parents, you need to put your ego aside and think, what is the best interest of my child? We are raising wounded children simply because people, parents, have chosen to fight their battles with their children. They dish details that children do not need to have about the issues that they have had with their partners. They detach and separate children aggressively so from the other parent without understanding the depth of the wounds that they are creating in those children. You might ask yourself, so Dumo, are you saying we're not justified when we react? Because that does not come from nothing. I fully agree with you. You are justified. In Xhosa kuye kuthiwa isihlangu siyaluma dela ngaso. So if you are faced with difficult situations, you need to make the best decision for yourself. I will not detail what the decision will be for yourself. But because you also have an additional responsibility, when you make a best decision for yourself, ensure that you make an even better decision than the one you made for yourself for your child. There are people who ensure that the other parent or the other partner completely disconnects with the child abruptly. And they will sit the children down and say, hey, no more. The father, the mother, the whatever is a no-go topic in this household. They draw the line. You are wounding the child. Some, they get into an agreement and understanding for as long as the other partner hasn't continued with their lives, which is something you cannot determine or dictate for the other partner. But they will try and ensure that there are relations for as long as the other partner hasn't committed to anybody else. As soon as there is that commitment, they introduce a different layer of complications in a child's life. You are wounding the child, an innocent victim. So, why am I raising this when I'm talking parent-child relationship? If you have got an opportunity to raise your children with a responsible co-parent, resolve your issues with that person so that they don't become a hindrance in your relationship with your own child. They don't become a hindrance to your child's future and to your child's relationship with the other party. Many questions will arise out of this. At times, you will find that relations are so toxic between parents that there is no harmony at all. There is no way they can't stand each other. We need to understand that there are other institutions that are available to assist us when we have reached a point of toxicity between us and our partners in parenthood, all at the interest of protecting a child, to ensure that the child is not affected by the conflict I have with the father or with the partner that I am supposed to co-parent with. So I won't dive, my dear friends, into what issues are usually there. We know them. We know them. Relationships ending, divorce. I've mentioned domestic violence, life just happening. All those things, when they happen, we need to protect the children. Remember, it's not just going to be your parenting style that's going to make your child. Your child is going to go out there. They're going to go to school. They're going to go, to sporting activities. They're going to go to church. They're going to go to fellowship. A whole lot of different role players are going to come and pour into this vessel that is your child. When they pour into this vessel, it is your responsibility to ensure that they don't find a cracked vessel. And that has been cracked by the parents. The world on its own is very cruel on our children. We don't need to contribute. We don't need to add to their stress, to their frustration, to their pain, to their worries, to their anxiety as parents. I think I've exhausted that part. Families. Your mom, your dad, which is grandma, grandpa, aunt. Hey, those wounds that we spoke about in the previous parts, please go back and watch. Those unresolved issues, that unresolved background, that creates conflict between yourself as the parent and your family. It has got a direct influence to your child. Imagine raising a child, raising my daughter or my son, when I don't get along with my own mother. How do I address issues of conflict between my family and I such that they don't affect my child? It goes back to that conflict resolution. Some of our hurts from our past have created these lasting conflicts between us and our families. And some parents don't have the spirit of discernment. They take all that bottled, packaged anger that they have not resolved and they pour it into this vessel. So before you build anything else, you are teaching your child that, you know what? Anger, pain, suffering. You are taking all those things and you are pouring them as fundamentals in the base of what you are building with your child. Unresolved conflicts with your families. People will say, but Duma, what should we do? I have tried. My family is just out of this world. All I'm saying is heal. Heal. If you have healed, you will continue to pour love into your child. You will pour love. You won't pour ignorance. You will teach them. You will advise them of what you have gone through. You will impart wisdom in them. But you will create a safe space of love, of principles that are going to be guiding your child in the development of their own personality and their own identity. Because we don't want to transfer the wounds and the pain and the conflicts that are rooted in our families into our own children. You are able to heal even from situations that you cannot change. But it's a journey on its own. And that is what this segment is about. I'm appealing to parents to resolve conflicts. Resolve conflicts. And don't transfer them into your children, because you are creating even deeper wounds and deeper scars, that no one is going to be able to heal. You won't even recognize them because you won't see them. You will think, no, I was just sharing, no, I was just talking. But all this while, you are creating a very, very deep rooted kind of pain and wounds in your children that will influence the people they become tomorrow. So learn to heal and learn to resolve conflicts. We will then look at resolving conflicts even with your child, because at times those unresolved conflicts with the father, with the family, with people at work, they will boil down to you not being able to resolve conflicts even with your child. That is why at times we will find that there are families with a history of just not getting along. And we ask ourselves, how did it get here? At some point, we need to break the cycle. So this segment, my dear friends, is just about that. That whatever conflicts that you have had with people in your life, significant others in your life, resolve them. Resolve them so that you can find your space of healing. And secondly, never use your child as a weapon. One day it will backfire. Heal, heal, and resolve all these packed up conflicts that keep accumulating in how you relate with people. Resolve them so that you are able to move on. So that when you get to pouring into the vessel, the precious gift of a child that you have been entrusted with, you give it your best shot. So that when one day, God forbid, if something goes wrong, you should sit and say, I've done my absolute best. I keep giving it my all. I try to be the best version of a parent I can be. And keep pouring good into the vessel. When they go through their own battles, when they go through their own struggles, their own pain, their own sorrow, their own mistakes, their own flaws in their own journey of becoming, you can be content in knowing that you did your best. That brings me to the end of today's segment. I do hope you will get your moment of sitting down, reflecting, and think about these conflicts. Tap into them. There are sources of help out there to get us through our demons so that we can be the best version of who we are and who we are capable of becoming. So, my dear friends, please share, like, subscribe, and give us feedback on what you think about the stuff we're talking about. I will work on building a resource for where people can go when you think that you need to talk to somebody. You need, a form of counseling, you need a form of coaching. I want us to build a circle of friends, of family. I want us to create a family here where we can come here and say, knock, knock, I'm raising a hand, I need help. And that resource, we should be able to say, wherever you are able to check in that resource and find that help. I hope we can create that safe space to become better versions of ourselves. So do enjoy and take care until we share the next one. Diantanda man.